Good morning, pre-calc students. I'm not going to be able to be available today. I have to stay at home and watch my daughter. Her daycare closed for a couple days, so I will not be available in class. But if you feel free to email me, and I will do my best to respond to emails throughout the day. With that being said, I also will not be available in my office hours today. However, I will be available on Thursday, which is the day before our test. So you could stop in on Thursday and we could have a conversation. All right, so what do we have? Today, we're going to do the chapter review, and today is Tuesday, November 17th. So I'm hoping you're going to watch this video and then work through the expectations on the class. But before we let you loose, I want to go over a couple of questions about the test here. So we're going to have the Chapter 7 test. It's 50 summative points. It will be on Friday, November 20th in class. It's 12 questions on Delta Math. There's an hour and 15-minute time limit unless you qualify for extended time. You must show your work on a separate sheet of paper, submit that work for all problems, and that's going to be an additional 10 extra points in the summative category. So you get 50 points for the 12 questions and then 10 points for showing your work. Pictures must be clear, neatly labeled, and you must actually show accurate work. You can't just kind of scribble something down. If you don't have correct work for your specific problem on Delta Math, then you're not going to earn the 10 points. It has to be related to the problem you did, and it has to be accurate mathematical work. All right. And then just a reminder for the test, you will need to access Desmos, and we'll talk about that in an example today. So I just want to show you really quick examples of neat work that is submitted. It should be clear. I should be able to see every problem in all of your work. It should be labeled problem 1, 2, 3, and so on. Here's an example of work that is not so neat. It was written all over the place. I have to look and see what problem they were doing what work for. That should not be the case. All right, you should have things segmented out, and I should clearly see the work for that problem. If there is no work, you can say number 1, no work needed, or no work, because there are 1 or 2 problems that you don't have to show work for, but I still want to know that you wrote something down there. And don't be like this student who just submitted, sorry, Strub, I did it all in my head. He definitely got a 0. This person didn't get a full 10 out of 10. Now, this is geometry work, but still, you guys get the idea. All right, we're going to take advantage of the time here and go over a couple of problems just to kind of give you guys a little bit of review. Solve the matrix with 3 variables. Well, first thing I want to do, it says solve the system, and I accidentally said matrix because that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to turn this into a matrix. And by the way, when you have a problem like this on Delta Math, it's the very first option, or it's the first category. They want you, if you watch the help video on this problem, they go through the long-handed way to solve this algebraically. We are not doing that, right? We're using our calculator, or in this case, Desmos, to help us out. So we're going to take the coefficients, and if there's just a z, you can always put a 1, and then that has to equal the number. Now, we don't put an equal sign here. Some people put a dotted line, but this is just how we write what's called the augmented matrix. So I'm going to just list the variables, the coefficients for each problem. And here's my augmented matrix. Then I'm going to go to Desmos. And if you just go to desmos.com, go to Math Tools, Matrix Calculator, then you're just going to do a new matrix, and we have to do rows by columns. So I have 3 rows and 4 columns. And then you're just going to type in all that information. All right. As soon as I have that information typed in, hit enter. And then we want to do the reduced row echelon form of the matrix, in this case, A. Now, we don't want decimal answers, so you're going to hit the little button right here to convert, and those are the answers. And then what we have here is, okay, so if we take our answer from the augmented matrix, and this is the reduced row echelon form, we know what x is, y, and z. X is 22 thirds. Y, that's 1y is equal to negative 14 ninths. And then Z is 56 ninths. So not friendly answers, but that's what we got. And we're done. Notice this is very similar work to the partial fraction work that we did earlier. Okay, the next problem is just looking at the order of a matrix. And just a quick refresher, this is the problem that you wouldn't need to show any work for, right? But your order is determined by the amount of rows versus the amount of columns. So rows are always stacked up top to bottom. Columns go across left to right. So how many rows do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many columns do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so this would be a 5 by 4. And then the element, so this would kind of be a separate question, but the element would be the location of row 3 and column 2. So I'm going to find row 3 and column 2, and what number is in that position? It's negative 8. All right, next problem. This is the solving piece. So what I want to do is I want to look at the denominators. I want to find the least common denominator here, which is a 3 and an x. And then you could multiply everything by 3x. I like to write it out like this. And I apologize, you might be able to hear my daughter in the background. She's playing the guitar. She's the only person in the family that knows how to play it. Okay, so now I have to cancel the denominators, right? The x's go away. The 3x's reduce out, and the 3 reduces out. What's left over then is 3 times 4, or 12. All that's left over here is x plus 4. And then I've got 2 times x, or 2x. And now we're going to solve. 4 plus 12 is 16. And then I'll move the x over to the other side, which tells me x is equal to 16. All right, so if we plug 16 back into the original equation, we'll end up getting a true expression. I'm going to trust that you plug it back in, which means 16 is not an extraneous solution, so we're good on that end. Okay, next problem. This is where I noticed there was a lot of students that struggled with this piece right here. And we didn't go over it. This is kind of an Algebra 1 concept, but it's setting up a system of equations from a word problem. So Olivia had math and reading homework tonight. She can solve each math problem in 1 minute. So notice it's kind of the rate for math, and she can read each page in 1.5 minutes. Olivia completed a total of 22 math problems and pages of reading in 30 minutes. Now this is a very interesting statement. So she completed 22 math problems and a combination, she completed a total of 22 math problems and pages of reading in 30 minutes. There's 2 pieces that we're going to identify there. But first, what I want to do is I want to make note of what should we pick for variables. I like to pick M for math and R for reading. And math is referring to the number of problems solved. Right? And it might even be good to say the number of math problems solved. Let me rewrite that. And then R is referring to the number of pages read. Usually, this is the part where students are like, oh, I got the system right, but they make the error right here. They don't define the variables well enough. So please make sure you're understanding what you have to define those variables as. So then we're going to look at the system of equations. And if I look at this green statement, it compares 2 different things. We've got the amount of pages read and problems attempted. So that's our quantity. So I think of that as just a total amount. So I'm going to think of this as like my quantity equation, where it doesn't have to do anything with the minutes. But what did I do? I took M pages or M problems of math plus R pages of reading, and that has to equal a total of 22. And then the second part of that was relating back to minutes. So now I'm going to write an equation that's based off of time. Well, this is where the rates come in. I've got 1 minute per math problem and 1.5 minutes per page. And that total has to equal the 30 minutes. So there it is. You have to set up a system of equations. You have your variables defined. And that's it. Okay, so what do we got today? Your homework today for in-class work is actually going to be going through what's titled the Optional Chapter 7 Study Guide in Delta Math. Now, originally, I was going to be with you guys today in class, but my daughter ended up getting, her daycare is not open, so I have to watch her. So here's what I got for you. When you go to Delta Math, you're going to look for the title that says Optional Chapter 7 Study Guide. And then look at the skills. Yes, there are 13 skills here. Now, here's the expectations for today, and this is the same thing you're going to do tomorrow. So you have 2 days to complete this. You have the 13 items. Now, it says required to do 2, and that's just for your practice, and that's the optional part. But what I want you to do today in class is do 1 problem from each category. There's 13 categories, so you have 13 questions to do between today and tomorrow. When you're done with that, I want you to add a comment that says, I'm done, please check my work on Schoology. And that way I know that you finished this optional assignment. Okay, so you're just doing 1 from each category. Now here's the benefit to doing this. Because I'm making an assignment and everyone is going to finish it, that means you are guaranteed a 70% on the Chapter 7 test, assuming you take the test, right? You can't just not take the test on Friday. But if you take it and you do this work, you're automatically guaranteed at least the 70%. Okay, so that's all I have today. Make sure you read Schoology all the way through today, and there's an attendance question. Please answer the attendance question, and then the same thing will be true on Wednesday. So I will not have office hours today, which is Tuesday, but I will have office hours on Thursday. So if you need any help before our test on Friday, come seek me out, and I will help you with anything you need. All right, best of luck, and I will see you Friday.